A lot of information out there, and I want to get some feedback as we go through this presentation at the end. So I'm here to talk about something that's getting a lot of press lately. The trend to encourage online and resort-based training could be hurting the industry sales significantly. Who wrote that? Dive Center Business, July and August. Most respondents prefer classroom-based learning. Dive Center Business. The total number of open water divers certified in the last couple of years has been declining. Where's that from? DEMA. Dun, dun, dun. Industry's going down the drains. Mark Young came to visit me in June. He said, he is the editor of Dive Center Business. He communicates with more retailers than I know and gets better data than just about anybody I've seen in the industry for North American retailers. And he came to me and he said, I want to have a meeting with you. And he doesn't come in and visit very often. So I'm like, okay, we'll go out to lunch. So he came in, we went out to lunch, and he said, I'm going to start writing about something, and I want to give you the heads up about it. I'm like, okay, what are you going to write about it? He said, I'm going to talk about how e-learning is failing the industry. I'm like, you're right. What? We definitely have a problem. Well, I thought for sure you would be upset and want to come out against me. I said, no. As a matter of fact, that's a great topic for DEMA. I'll talk about it. Mark's head hit the floor. Okay? He couldn't believe that I was going to sit there and say. He said, I didn't get that type of response from the other organizations I went and talked to. I said, that's because they haven't been doing it as long as we have, and they haven't made as many mistakes. So that's why I'm standing in front of you to talk to you today about how we can make it better. So, let's draw out some statistics. 4.3 million undergraduate students, or 20% of undergraduates, took at least one distant learning education course between in 2007 and 2008. That's an old statistic. 8 years old. The National Center for Educational Statistics, traditional classroom versus technology-enabled. 61% used technology-enabled classrooms in 2009. Okay, we got some old statistics out there. You can say it's old. Has it gotten any more or less? What's the direction? The eLearningindustry.com. Today, it's estimated 46% of college students taking at least one online course. By 2019, roughly half of all college classes will be e-learning based. Is it going away? Heck no. There is billions of dollars being poured into e-learning at university levels and all sorts of education. Just about every facet of education has some form of e-learning. Little known fact, international training was contracted about 3 years ago to write the e-learning program, or to launch, that we used our technology, e-learning, to run all the 911 call operators in the state of Florida. Every 911 call operator went to an e-learning course, which we hosted and managed and things. States are implementing these things. E-learning is not going away. So how is the industry failing it? Well, let's talk a little bit about history. How do we end up here? E-learning's been around since 2001. We've learned a lot. In 1980s, we had the take-home study program, right? That was around. Did that fail? No, the industry grew. In 1990s, we had the CD-ROM. Same thing as a take-home study. Plug and play training videos. Put a video in, walk out of the classroom. The 30-minute video is done. This is the way things have gone in the past. Today, with e-learning, these are all the courses we have available. We have over 22 courses and it's growing. ERDI. Everything we develop has an e-learning component, new classrooms. We're not running from it, but we are making mistakes. It wasn't always this way. What did we learn? Now, I'm moving a little bit quick here. So The statistics I'm going to put up here, you see all sorts of statistics in the past. These are actual numbers I crunched out of our system in the last couple of days. I wanted as much fresh data. 66% of all e-learning courses through through our company are open water based. 66%. 13% are computer nitrox. 21% all the other courses that we offer, every single one of those other courses. 87% of all students who sign up for open water e-learning in 2015 complete their training. This is not the statistic that's being put out by Dive Center Business. Dive Center Business is saying 70%. That's what Mark is putting out. Okay? Mark's got data from the other organizations. I don't know what that data is. I know this is our data. Was our data always like this? No, it was lower. But we started educating people, and we did something subtly, which I'll talk about in just a minute. 91% of all computer nitrox complete their training through certification. I'm going to dive further into those statistics to try to get that after, and then we're going to ask for feedback from you guys. Okay? Time of day that e-learning is used. This is Eastern Standard Time. Okay? So we're looking at 8 o'clock at night is the highest time of people on the courses. How it's being sold and promoted. Not by us. E-learning shortens the classroom time because the students did all their academics online. That's how it's being put out there. E-learning replaces the classroom. There's documentation out there. You can fast track them to the pool where e-learning, where the real learning is done. In 2001 and 2002, I was saying these things. Okay? We were saying these things to our customers. Get in e-learning, you can cut down on the amount of classroom that you had. The problem is not e-learning. The problem is how we define classroom. This is the change that we put into our company when we talk about classroom and academic review. It's different depending on the demographic you're talking to. That is an important concept. So if you're teaching college-age students, classrooms mean something very different. But classroom for the majority of this group is this. There you go. There's your classroom. There's a board. Somebody stands up in front of it. They're a little bit more sophisticated. They're using a dry erase board. Okay, they're teaching with color. Do you remember all that? All right? That's a traditional classroom. This is what we should be doing. Flipping the classroom. Traditional classroom, instructor teaches you. And then you learn something, and then you go home with homework. How many of you, when you give the book to the student and tell them to come in with the questions answered at the end of the book before the first class, did they get it done? They never get it done. They procrastinate. Well, with e-learning, we saw they'll get it done, and we've seen them more prepared. So when we built e-learning, it was a way to encourage them to get the work done so they didn't have to do class. Well, if you flip the classroom and you give them the component up front, they come into the classroom, greater comprehension of the topic can occur. You're not struggling to tell them what Boyle's Law is. It's not a brand new word to them at that point. They might go, Boyle's Law, yeah, I didn't understand that. But at least they know what Boyle's Law is. It's a concept with diving. So putting the flipped classroom. So what is the classroom of the future? And I say not really, because SDI-TDI has been promoting this for quite some time. It's a circle of chairs in the middle of the store. Go over what items they discuss. Get outside that sterile room. Take your classrooms and put couches in. Okay? Stand at the repair counter and go over how a regulator works, How many of you have seen slide presentations on regulator repairs? Wouldn't it be better if you stood at the regulator repair bench and you tore apart a regulator right in front of them? Why is that going to be better? Wouldn't it be better if they held the wrench and actually helped you take it apart a little bit? Whoa, are you saying tell people to maintain their equipment and do all this? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is people will learn by discovery. There's greater comprehension, especially if you're dealing with a millennial. They hate slide presentations. They want to touch it. They want to see it. Talk about gas in the cylinders in your open water class. Well, you could hold a cylinder, but why don't you go to your compressor and teach the classroom in the compressor room? That's the classroom. The dive store is the whole classroom, not the class. Okay? Go to the compressor room, learn how the cylinder is going to be handled. Spend more time going over environmental considerations when diving, i.e. the need for proper buoyancy. Are we teaching them anything at this moment? Are they learning? Yeah. We've just not following the formal standardized outline with the PowerPoint and talking about concept level 1 in this component first and going through this slide set. We're getting more creative in how we're delivering the information. Okay? So what I'm saying is, you give them the e-learning, they come in and they have basic knowledge on the product, and then you do your class. But class is everywhere. We're going to orientate you around how diving works. Learn by discovery. Visit the boat. Those of you who are lucky enough to have a boat in the back of your store. Anybody got those? I know you got one. A couple back there. Walk them on the boat. Show them where they're going to store their gear. Spend more time at the quarry. Do a presentation at the quarry about something rather than in the classroom. Learning is taking place the whole time. E-learning is not the problem. If you use it to replace the classroom, yes. But if your classroom is from the time the person walks through the front, from the front door till the time they leave in their car, you're going to get a greater amount of knowledge. In addition to that, what are you doing with a greater amount of knowledge? What's happening when they're communicating with you? You're building a relationship. That's what's failing. Less classroom, less relationship time. We were all trained by our instructors. You build that relationship by doing what? Stand in a classroom and talk about everything and use our color, education by color with our dry erase. That's how relationship is built. That's how our instructors built a relationship with us, and that's what made me buy dive gear. That's not how they do it now. How many remember this statistic? 10% of what I say to you today you'll retain. So how am I going to encourage that? Yeah, there you go. How am I going to make sure that this information can be retained more? We video it, and we're going to be posting it to the world to talk about it. These are the changes that need to take place in the classroom. E-learning was created to allow the instructor more freedom to teach, not to reduce the amount of time. High-speed classes are failing constantly. 2-day open water classes, get your e-learning, come in and do pool, and get out by the end of the weekend. You want to talk about not being able to develop a relationship? It's not to reduce the amount of time. It's about giving you more time to teach the things you're passionately about. And if you heard the millennial presentation a little while ago, what did they talk about? What did Lauren say? For anybody in the room, she said one big thing, and it was, they want to see the passion. If we reduce the amount of time or stick them in the classroom and make them learn in a certain way, one, you're going to lose them because they want to use technology to learn. So they're not going to see passion there. We're teaching the way we always do. So you've lost that connection. And two, you don't have that time to build the bond, where we all lose. When are you selling dive gear? Well, if you have no classroom, you can't sell any dive gear. No. You can sell the gear while you're standing around the counter. Make the classes less informal. So, there's one other thing that e-learning does. It disconnects the amount of time, and one bad drawback that I've seen a lot of things occur with e-learning, and if you look to college students, they say, I'm going through my class and I can't communicate with anybody. It's disconnected, it's sterile, right? Well, this is SDI and TDI's big item. A couple of you have heard it, that we're going to be putting out in 2016. Okay? And I'm in the process of doing it. Students may interact with an instructor while taking their courses in real time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What? How are you going to do that? While they're in the middle of their e-learning class. How am I going to do that? Technology's been there. It's a chat. We've been developing the processes to handle this for the last few months. What we're going to do is SDI, TDI, and this concept came to me on putting it all together through a couple of series of things happened. First of all, I couldn't communicate with my staff. I was having trouble introducing them to a phone. You've been in presentations with me, that new technology on the thing, you press numbers, you can talk to one another. They don't talk to each other. They text each other, they chat back and forth, they talk in 144 characters, right? The younger generation. And they're the generation using e-learning. So I can't communicate with them. So I was banging my head against the wall. So I took away Facebook and I took away all these things. It didn't work. So I said, okay, I'm going to add chat. So we add chat. Holy cow, the response has been great. Then I went out to dinner with one of my staff members, Jesse. He's down in the booth. Jesse's been working for us for 6 months or something like that. And he said something to me, and I went, it was like smack in the face. And we were just talking about whatever, and he said, you know, Brian, when I came work for international training, one of the things I was hoping for was I'd get out and I have a chance to teach more. I went, wow. He's not teaching, he's sitting behind a computer. So how do I get Jesse to teach more? All right, we got to put Jesse into some classes. And then I went, wait, we're an education company, and I went to a conference, a content marketing conference. Now, if you take away one bit of information from me in this whole presentation, there's a conference called Content Marketing. If you have extra money sitting around, go to it next year, because I learned more in 3 days about talking to people and communicating with the technology today that it's impacted all of the presentations that you are seeing from SDI, TDI here and everything you're going to see going into 2016. It was fantastic. But during that conference, I was listening to something. 70% of all purchase decisions are made before talking to anybody. 70%. I've heard 56%, but I've heard that number is not getting any smaller. People are looking things up. And a way I can say that to you, what I can say to you is this chatting with one another, communicating. I said, you know what? Why don't we put this on e-learning? You'll have direct communication with an instructor. This is a major issue with students, they've said, 35 years or younger. Now, how are we going to? The instructor will be HQ personnel. I've communicated with my regional offices in Australia and in the UK. They're both on board for it, so we have the service of direct contact. You'll be English speaking only. Now, there's a great thing called Google Translate. So we've been able to communicate. We're communicating with an instructor from India just last week. Okay, and their local language. I don't know how Paul was doing it, but he was communicating in that way. So it's only going to be English-based first. All the chats are recorded electronically. So we have a record of this communication going back and forth. Wait a second, Brian, you're going to chat with one of my students? How do you know it's my student? Oh, it's really neat. The instructors will be able to see who the student is before they even know we know we're looking at them. So when you are on our website, we can see who you are, what pages you've been on, how long you've taken. Where they're chatting from, what part of the country, where they are located. That's in the chat administrator window. What dive center they are taking a course with. So therefore, I will be able to know, Randy, it's one of your students. So guess what? I can say, how's Randy doing? Say hello to me. Say hello for me. He's a great guy. Make sure you get out on XREC during your dive class. That personalization we can do because that student in eLearning, we can pull up our other database management system and see who's taking it, what instructors are active in that group, And as a result of that, we train our staff on this all the time. When you're communicating with somebody, you can look on their websites and see the lines of equipment they're selling. So if we get an equipment issue, which we'll stay away, what regulator do you recommend? Well, I recommend, they're selling Scuba Pro Aqualung. I recommend any of the products within Scuba Pro or Aqualung, but talk with your local instructor. He'll be able to show you some much better details. So we're not taking away, we know who they are. HQ instructors will not be referring them to other dive centers or online stores. That won't happen because we know where the person's from. Everything's recorded. They can't hide from it. What are we going to do with those chats? One of the students is having problems with, let's say we can see as they're going through the course, they missed questions on decompression. We can copy and paste the chat and send it to you in email right away. So when that student walks into the classroom or walks in the dive store the next day and say, oh, hey, you had a chat with Brian, and I heard that you had a little bit of a problem there. Or you had a chat with John, or a chat with Rick, or a chat with Darren. Whatever, you had a little bit of a problem with this, we're here to help you. I'm going to talk, and we're going to set up our classroom about decompression over here on this nice little board I already got drawn up. So we're going to give you the ability to expand your instructional staff on any of these topics without paying for it. Because that passion that I want to tap into for that younger generation, that's what we're doing. We're going to tap into that and use their passion to help. So the concerns about who's answering and things like that, that's why it's HQ personnel. Okay, so it's SDI, TDI people, which we will have in lists, and you'll be able to see their profile, and we've built an About You function, so you can see the people that they're communicating with. So if you get, hey, I got this chat, I was talking to Darren, you can call to Darren or ping Darren and say, what exactly happened? Reach out to him or send him an email or send Darren a text. Okay, I'll give out your cell phone number later, Darren. Now, if they go and they say, hey, I'm interested in nitrox diving. Well, your instructor there teaches it, ask them about this, the course there, but you can also find the information here on the, you can find out all the information about a nitrox class right here on our website, because they're going to find it anyway. And this is another thing that came out of the conference was, if they ask, you better answer. Because if you don't answer the question, they're going to find it on their own, okay? Because they're going to just go to Teacher Google and type in the question. They're right there anyway. So we want to direct them back to where they can find the information on their own. So now, if they start asking us about helium mixtures and they're in a basic nitrox class, we're going to say, whoa, you really got to do these things first. Talk to your instructor. Talk to your instructor. Everything will be based on basic information. The intention will be to redirect and talk to your instructor directly with regards to additional things that they can learn. But while that chat is all locked up and we forward it to that instructor can then say, wow, they asked a lot of questions about nitrox. What are they thinking? Maybe I should sell them a nitrox class. Technology department in our company, we just moved in our new building and they built their office. They had the freedom to build their office however they wanted. They put up a dartboard, but next to their dartboard, they put a chalkboard, okay, and a dry erase board. Now, the dry erase board, you think, okay, that's what they're going to put their notes on and things. No, that's to keep score of their darts, okay? The chalkboard is there for their creativity, their content, and they're trying to figure out, our coders use it all the time, and they're spitballing things as they're throwing darts, but they're working. Now, if I had a dartboard when I worked for my former boss many years ago, and I was throwing darts, he would have had my head. But opening up that creativity and allowing them to work and learn in that format, it's amazing what they're coming up with. My mother's a college professor, and she just says to me, it's totally different nowadays. And trying to get their attention and get them to see and learn is a struggle for us that never had any formal training on how people learn. I'm happy to discuss this and answer more questions at each of you later on. And thank you for attending this presentation.